We're going to get started in a minute. Michelle's going to be sharing her background, and I'll give her a little bit of an intro here, and then I'll do a little share. And then the idea is that we would also it's a mastermind, so we can learn from each other as well. So, yeah, I think we've got it. I mean, we can get going. There may be some other people that hop in here. We're going to record this for folks that can't come, can't make it. And so, we will make this interactive. We want this to be a fun time. You guys spend a little bit of time with us this afternoon. Um, so, um, so yeah, if you're good with that, I think Michelle, why don't we get started? Let me introduce you, and we'll get going. So Michelle is really been working on redefining what success looks, particularly for high achievers. With her experience working with a lot of different people, she is really is a somatic business mentor, really for the sensitive high achievers, and founder of ND Coach Inc. So helping ambitious entrepreneurs regulate their nervous system and escape the hustle, right? That we all seem to find ourselves in, and then help build businesses that really love them back, And so I really liked having Michelle here because she blends neuroscience, somatic strategy with leaders and helping them move from survival mode to really sustainable success. So we have a lot of shared values here, and I'm just excited to have you here, Michelle, with us and to share. And you're going to take maybe about 15 minutes or so to share with us, and then I'll come back on and do a little share as well. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Michelle. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction, David. So what I do is really help high achieving women get out of their heads and back into their bodies. As high achievers, we tend to get kind of stuck up in our minds, spinning about things, and that can, in a lot of ways, block our success. So, have you ever hit every milestone you worked for and then sort of still felt like you were barely keeping up?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
So that can be the outward success that everyone sees. And then on the inside, what's happening is we're getting depleted because there's this quiet anxiety and we're having to hold it all together. We're showing up, we're like putting our all into everything, and we get stuck in sort of survival mode. We're in this action mode, this sort of very masculine energy of go, 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 and do and produce and show up every day. And this can actually be your fight or flight mechanism kicking on to keep you over functioning. So, um, it's survival mode, really kind of dressed up in ambition. Success without regulation is just survival with a nicer outfit. So, what happens is many high performers get into this pattern of living in chronic fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And so I'm not sure if y'all have heard of fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. I'm assuming you've heard of fight or flight. Um, it's really that survival mechanism that comes on to keep us safe. In history, it was when we were being chased by tigers or like a mastodon or something. But now it's like what happened to me this week. It's getting locked out of Facebook for a week. That can really trigger that survival mechanism to kick on. And so, what fight is when your nervous system just kind of goes into this like fight mode, like you're showing up, you're doing all the things, you're feeling agitated, but you're able to like keep on top of everything. You may be a little bit more assertive or aggressive. Flight is when you are avoiding things, you're like running away from your tasks, you feel really agitated and anxious. And then freeze is when you kind of get shut down. And with freeze, there can be something called flop. And flop is really that sort of rotting on the couch where you can't get up, you can't do anything, you're just completely exhausted. And that's where you've been in survival mode for too long, and your body will just kind of shut you down to keep you safe. And then fawn is the most common state that happens that I see in my clients, particularly with women, which is really people pleasing. It's overgiving. It's showing up and, just making sure everyone else feels good and everyone else is happy and, just overproducing and making everyone else's priorities be ahead of yours. So it's not taking the time to take care of yourself, to nurture yourself, maybe not exercising or just constantly being focused on what everyone else needs and not really taking care of yourself. So burnout is what happens when we let these states become habitual, when we're constantly in this fight, flight, freeze, or fawn all of the time. That leads our body into a state of burnout. And burnout is really just kind of severe exhaustion from being stuck in a high cortisol, high agitation state for a long time. And that's really what I want you all to avoid, because after 9 months in business, that's what happened to me. I hit a severe burnout because I was running my business through hustle culture. I was bro marketing, and I just shut down after 9 months. I was completely burned out. I was so exhausted that I basically was unable to really show up in business in any meaningful way for about 2 years. So that's why um, I chose somatic business coaching, because it's so important to be able to regulate your nervous system, to feel safe, and to be able to feel powerful and empowered and show up in front of others and be able to take care of yourself in a meaningful way. Because if you're not doing that, you're just gonna hit burnout. And then you've got opportunity costs, which are like $50,000 a year minimum if you're not able to show up. So I think it's really important that we talk about these challenges, and we talk about, high achievers, and how high achievers tend to kind of always move the bar. And so we don't even really take time to celebrate our own personal wins, because we're always moving the bar. We'll set a goal and then we hit it and we're like, well, what's next? Where's the time? Where's the time to pause and celebrate and really enjoy and be proud of ourselves? And so that's one of the challenges that I see with many high achievers. And I know it's something that I've seen with myself too. And so I've really been taking the time to celebrate every win and to slow down, and to really just appreciate the good things that come in, and celebrate when I get a client, or celebrate when I have some kind of achievement that I've been reaching for. And I do that with my clients too. I encourage them to celebrate everything. Um, so it's not weakness, it's not lack of drive. It's biology that's trying to keep you safe. That's what your fight or flight mechanism is. So I'd love to ask, where do you notice tension showing up in your body during the workday? And anyone can kind of volunteer if they want to share.
My back.
Yeah, for sure.
My eyes.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, we tend to kind of like squint.
Yeah, I definitely feel that, John. I can get both of those, Christina and John, at the back and the eyes. I just, if I'm staying too long or to focus on the computer or something like that, absolutely. Just
Yeah,
the intensity.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what I do is I teach the 3 pillars of sustainable success. So that's regulating, reclaiming, and redefining. So it's really creating safety in the body first, and then auditing and redirecting energy so that you are really engaging in the tasks that are going to help you monetize the most quickly. Because what I found is I spent several years trying to figure out what was minutia and what was monetization tasks. So I really love helping my clients actually figure out what's going to help them earn money in their business versus just kind of what's busy work. And I know, because I have spent hours in my email thinking I'm working so many hours a day. But email's not a monetization task. So, and then the third step is to redesign. And so that is, redefining and redesigning success around what fulfillment is, around what success looks like to you, reframing your ambition. It's not about, cutting back severely on work, but it's about working in a way that's more sustainable to you, and working around your own schedule that's going to fill you up and give you energy rather than drain you and exhaust you. So I'd love to share a case story about one client. Her name is Taylor, and she came to me just overwhelmed and exhausted and burned out. And she was overworked and underpaid and just She's kind of at the end of her rope. And we've only been working together 4 months. We're in a 12-month program, and she's already doubled her income. She's doubled revenue, she's doubled her clients, and she is just feeling much more grounded and happy. And it's just been amazing to see this whole nervous system transformation happen. And she's really calling in those ideal clients now because she's grounded and she feels more confident and more comfortable in her body. So instead of kind of spinning out every day and being stuck up in her head, she's able to really show up and magnetize the kind of people that she wants to bring in. How am I doing on time, David?
You're doing okay. You got a few more minutes. Hmm.
Okay. So, I'd love to kind of talk a little bit about some of the grounding work that I do, and maybe we could try a grounding exercise if anyone wants to try that. So I'll just ask you to sit comfortably, which you're already doing. You can place your palms palm up for positive energy or palm down for grounding. And I'll just ask you to take 3 deep breaths. So you fill up the chest and fill up the belly, and then we're going to audibly sigh it out. And the more noise, the better. So 2 more. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale. Exhale. And what you're doing when you're making that audible exhale is you're activating the parasympathetic nervous system by way of something called the vagus nerve, which is the largest nerve that runs through your body. So that sighing that you do when you get really stressed out and you feel overwhelmed, that's your parasympathetic nervous system just kind of automatically turning on to help calm you down. So I don't know if you've noticed, if you get overwhelmed, you may sort of just naturally sigh, but you can actually use this as a practice. So things like sighing or humming, singing even. For women, your vocal cords are actually connected to your pelvic floor. So when you sing, when you speak, when you hum, you're activating that entire system and you're helping to tell your body that you're safe. So if you're ready to create success that actually feels good, I'm offering a few clarity calls this week. They're actually business audits. And these are offered at a sliding scale that I have right now. And I can provide the link at the end when we're done with our
Yeah.
mastermind.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Michelle. And we want to give opportunities too for you guys to we'll have some talk and to share comments and feel free. You guys can also put anything in the chat here.
Yeah.
We're just trying to open up the conversation as to what could be, what is working, what isn't working. And so where I'm just going to share with you both, all of you here on the call this afternoon, is taking from what Michelle has started here with really from the inside out, and I'm also going to look at your outside world. How are you making decisions? How are you leading? I've worked with John and his team on some of these things in the past, and so I use a couple different tools I'll just share with you today. And again, John gets a little bit of benefit because he's worked with the team, and of one of them is called the 5 voices. And how do you know yourself to lead yourself? How do we show that we're not in survival mode, like you were saying, Michelle, but really understanding the cost of that as a leader if we want to move from that. So when leaders are really regulated in a healthy way and they understand, using some of the techniques, the grounding, the things you just talked about, Michelle, and then understanding what is your natural strength, how do you show up, that's going to put you in a much better place. Now, if you're under stress, if you're, what happens is the things that are really good about your voice, the things that as a leader that naturally show up tend to go the other way. It now is undermining your influence, undermining your impact. And so, for example, those that are what I call nurturers, and I'll put a link to the 5 voices assessment. You guys can check it out if you'd like. I know Liz, I think one of you taken it as well, but no nurturers that are very honestly they may become distorted in their voice, so they may over accommodate. Or the guardians, there's people that are like they may over control. They're really good at following things, checklists and things, but now they over control. Or connectors like myself, I overcommit because I'm so people pleasing. And so There's different terminology out there. You could say you're being sabotaged, if you will, by your own, the way our brains work. And so we're trying to break that down. Pioneers over dominate because they're very big on winning, and so or creatives, maybe they over withdraw, they pull away because they don't feel like they're being heard. And so these stress defaults show up, and it actually makes things worse, so now we've done the things like Michelle was talking about, and how we show up naturally is being hijacked. So if you I'm just curious if you remembered. If you don't remember, that's okay, John or Onita. But if you remember your primary voice, feel free to drop it in the chat. If you're not sure, that's fine too. I will put a link. In fact, I'll just drop it in here now so you guys have it. And you can always retake it. It's absolutely free. This is just a great little tool that I love using with clients. Um, and so you can go check that out. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes. Um, so the idea here is that if we know, and I'll say learn even ourselves, because we're in a state of constant understanding. We'll never fully know because we're evolving. The person I am now at 51 is different than it was at 41 and 31 in different situations of life. So I'm knowing myself, who I am today, but who am I becoming? So um, there's a powerful understanding of recognizing our tendencies and our patterns that lead to taking actions. And ultimately, there's consequences. Those could be good, those could be bad. They're just consequences that create our reality. And so, if look at that, if you never look at this, you're going to be, trying to fix things with more effort, and it's not going to get you where you want to be. Yeah, thank you, Onya. Yeah, I remember you're creative. So, and so understanding, these patterns are important so that you can break these and make better decisions. And so one way we do that, and there's actually a really cool book that just came out today or the other day. It's called The Voice Driven Leader, about how to hear, value, and maximize every voice on your team. But here's the thing, you can't really value others if you're not healthy yourself, because you're in a deficit. So, um, what I'm going to do is just walk you briefly here through a little few. Just I'm going to give you three statements. There's actually more in the book that you can go through, but I want you just to take a moment here and don't justify. Just ask yourself. This is just a little assessment to see where you're at. Again, we're trying to help you as a high achiever be more effective. So I want you to just go through as I read these statements. Give them a score between 1 to 10, whatever comes up for you. Don't polish it. Just say this is what it comes up for me. 10 meaning I'm totally here, and 1 meaning I'm not here at all. And so as I read these statements to you, just take a moment and I'll just slowly go through them for you just to think, where am I at with others around me? So the first question I'll ask you, or statement I'll ask you, present, is I am deeply committed to developing people according to their natural voice. And if voice, the word isn't voice, but how they're designed, how they're created. So where are you on that in a scale of 1 to 10? Are you deeply committed to developing people in their natural voice? Okay.
Are we shouting it out or putting
No,
it?
you can put it if you want. Yeah. Well, we'll go. I'll go through all of them. How about that? I'm going to go through all of them, and then we'll come back to them. So I'll read. So you're number one. I'm deeply committed to developing people according to their natural voice. Where are you in that? Just no polishing. Number two, I understand my own leadership tendencies and how they impact others. Just I understand my own leadership tendencies and how they impact others. So you own them and you know how they impact others. So it's both. And the third question I'm going to ask you, or statement I'm going to say, is I actively build trust, provide meaningful feedback, and create space for others to grow. I actively build trust, provide meaningful feedback, and create space for others to grow. So as you read those, like one of the question, and we can break these down here in a minute, but I want you to the real question is not do I believe this, but whether you lead a team or not, or those family members or organization you're a part of, whatever that look like, do they recognize this, or is this only true in my head? So could they say that about you, or is this only me saying this? So what would they say about you? What would they, but be their experience? Would they say those statements? Like for David, you are deeply committed to developing people in their natural voice, or would they say, oh, you do some of it, you know? So just, this is just a reality check. I'm not, and there's no guilt here. There's no shame. This is the idea of the mastermind, is to help us just get awareness, so then we can actually do something about it, right? So and I'll come back to this in our conversation here. So just put it is like, so I want to make sure I get through just the little bit of a presentation here. But then think about, again, what Michelle was talking about earlier, and how, if we're in survival mode, how does that affect our capacity to live these statements? If we're in survival mode, if we're trying to just get through the day, or it'll get better somehow, how is that actually helping achieve these statements? Your leadership tendencies aren't, I'm not saying you're a moral failure or you're a bad person. These are just, you talked about earlier, Michelle, this is the way our brains work to survive, to help us, you know, adjust. And if we don't understand this, right, Michelle? If we don't understand this, we're just getting hijacked. And unfortunately, the world knows how to hijack our brains too. Anybody scroll on social media for a long time? I mean, there's ways, right?
Everything.
Right? There's all these different things that are competing and tripping us up. And that's why we wanted to have a mastermind. We can come through and kind of peel back that a little bit and have a reality check of what's really true out there. Um, so, and if you want to share a word, I guess, or put it in the chat, I would just, in a word, what would it cost your leadership by default? Like what's it costing you to just stay in the default? Like, for you mentioned earlier, Michelle, if I just stay in the default, I'm wasting time. I'm not being effective in my time. Time is more valuable than money.
Right. Yeah, money. Christina says money.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that. It's maybe credibility, because you can't, people don't trust you fully. I mean, I've been in that place where I was trying to pull together opportunity,
Yeah.
Michelle. Yeah.
And Juanita says relationships in progress.
hmm Right.
Yeah.
Deeper intimacy, right? Deep being known and knowing others. Yeah. So here's the thing, why I wanted to have Michelle on here today, and we can go through it in the mastermind portion in the last half of the is our call today is, Michelle's, I think, is so important that she's helping you create that place of internal safety that was required for change. If we're not feeling safe, we're not feeling grounded, it's really hard for us to do change. And that's why I love pairing up with her, because I felt like, here's a person that gets this, and I want to work both on top of that and work with those folks in the teams. And John and I know specifically because we've worked with a lot of people that are very subject matter experts. They're really great technical at what they do. They know that inside and out. But to get them clear in this way of being is it's uncomfortable at times. But as you lean into it, it becomes more comfortable. It becomes like this is a journey, a way of becoming. And so that's what we want to make this practical and really help you in that, whether it's for yourself or others too, that you're like, okay, what are you seeing? How can I show up better for those other people around me? And so that's, we're not talking long at you guys today. We wanted to give you just some basic tools and resources. And I, similarly, like Michelle, I do a follow-up call, and I can walk through the 5 voices for those. I don't think, Christina, you've gotten to take that before. So I'm happy to walk you through that initially. But what I found is, once we get this awareness, what I really like helping personally, my passion, and John knows this, is really like, how do you understand your voices, and how do I then effectively lead others and develop others, right? But you cannot do it if you're not taking care of yourself first. And so that's really where we're starting with Michelle. And then I'm building on what she's doing with both men and women. I know, Michelle, you particularly do well with women clients, but you're not opposed to working with men. But you're just in that space. And so as you guys hear this, whether it's for you or other people, you're like, hey, you should probably talk with David or Michelle. So, so we're glad to have you guys here, and welcome your feedback, comments, thoughts. I really appreciate your guys' engagement today.
I was trying to remember what my voice was. I definitely know I was a connector, but it seemed like
Mhm.
there was a blend.
I'll look it up, John, because I think I still got you in my system. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna
that's
tell
why.
you. You were a blend, I think, John, if I remember correctly. I think you were a connector pioneer. You're definitely a pioneer in there at some point because of, I mean, you being a business owner and going out and creating your own company. And I mean, that's very pioneer-like. Not all of them are, but I'm gonna look yours up right now. What was John's? Let's
It's
see.
great to know that stuff. And Michelle, thank you for what you said. What's interesting is David was going through his questions, and I was thinking about how the things I do affect everyone around me. And I, I want to be, I'm committed to listening to people, but I think I struggle still with that.
Hmm.
So, but you're right. You got to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. I think that's important. And
Right.
sometimes I forget to do that. And because of that, I think it affects other things around me.
Hmm.
So it's hard to quantify that, but what you said, that resonated with me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I feel like as entrepreneurs, I mean, there's no end to the work that we could do. We could work 24/7 if we wanted. You really have to kind of put those boundaries in place and force yourself to really take care of yourself, or it just won't happen because there's always work to be done.
That's true. I remember my dad used to ask me a most maddening question. He'd always ask, have you caught up yet?
Um,
And I love my dad to
Okay.
death, but that question just I drove me crazy. But honestly, though, he he was able to not bring work home, and he was able to separate it much better than I am. And I kind of wish I could answer that question. Like you said, just stop and appreciate the things you do. Don't worry about all these other things you always have. You're never done if you want to look at the world as just a continuum of work. You're never done. So I'm looking at it wrong. I think my dad was actually right. He was trying to let me know it's okay to just kind of sit and rest for a while and be thankful for the things you've accomplished, and you don't have to solve all the world's problems. In fact, I can't solve all the world's problems, so that's just stupid anyhow.
well, and John, if there's anybody that I know that is trying desperately, those you don't know, John has served in so many different capacities as mayor, as handle member. He's worked in the pub, he's had his company here. He's a person that really gives and ran for county supervisor for LA County, among others. I mean, has a real heart for giving and serving others. So I definitely, John, if anybody I know anybody that wants to help make a change, you're the person I know.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, what Michelle said's so important. I mean, if you really don't have a true end game, then what's the point of it? Like, you've got to have some steps where you can celebrate.
100%.
I think it's really about about setting your mind to celebrating, making a decision that part of your life, part of your business, part of your work is to schedule joy. I literally make time every day for joy, whether it's running around the backyard with my kid or like jumping up and down on the rebounder that's behind me. It's, I find that I function better, I produce better, I perform better, I show up better, and I connect better when I actually take the time to practice joy and to celebrate even the smallest successes?
Yeah.
You you were talking about your client that has doubled her business and is much happier. Could you tell us a little bit more about that client?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, Taylor's amazing. So she came to me 4 months ago and she was just completely stuck up in her head, just really spinning out. She's a high achiever and a late realized neurodivergent. So I work exclusively with neurodivergent people, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs are, but whether they know it or not, we don't have, that's not this mastermind. Um, so she was really just kind of overwhelmed and really kind of disconnected from her body. And so what we did was we started working on getting her out of her head and back into her body through a lot of somatic exercises, nervous system regulation strategies, movement-based trauma recovery things. I use a lot of yoga and Eastern philosophy in my work as well, as I'm a yoga teacher and have been practicing for 20 some odd years. And so we basically have, in the first 4 months we've been working together, and like I said, this is a 12-month program that she's in. We've been really working on regulating her nervous system and getting her to a place where she feels safe and confident. And so she can really attract in and magnetize those ideal clients rather than chasing them. Because in the beginning, she was just, cold DMing people, like cold DMing 20 to 50 people every day, and nothing was coming of it. And, you know, as much as I hate to say it, the energy that we put out is going to be the energy that comes back. And it kind of sounds woo-woo, but at the end of the day, I mean, people are reading the energy that you put out. So when you're able to regulate it and you're able to show up in your own power, your own confidence, and your own nervous system regulation, you're really going to be able to magnetize versus chasing, because nobody wants to be chased.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I put another little assessment if you guys want to take in there. It's called the Peace Index Assessment too. It's just a different way of looking at, where do you have peace in your life, whether it be your purpose, like you said, John, where are you living? What are you being called to do? The people in your life, the place, the revision. It'll help you kind of at least get some indicators of like, where am I having some challenges, and maybe, working with Michelle or like I said, your team. What I found a lot of folks do, particularly in my, where we have John, where we've been, where a lot of people are driven in a technical place to grow in their career, and then they kind of look up and like, I don't know, this is really where I wanted to be, and so understanding, what is, like you kind of said, John, kind of one of the is the end game. What's the legacy I want to leave? What's the impact I want to have? And I want to make sure, Juanita, I want to get to your questions as well, but it is important, and to pause and to reflect and to look at that. Juanita, you want to share your question?
Two questions. Can you hear me?
Oh, it went off a little bit. It's kind of,
Because I guess I have it set to my headset.
yeah. Go ahead.
It's good?
Yeah, that's great. That worked.
Oh, sometimes I have it on my camera, and
Uh-huh.
sometimes I have it on my headset. Sorry about that.
That's all good.
Um, I've heard this term bro marketing a lot. I do not really know what that means, but it's always used in a negative way. So I'm just like, what is bro marketing?
Yeah. So bro marketing is like where you're cold DMing people, you're like reaching out directly and being like, buy my offer, here's the link. It's really just, I always say that cold pitches are like the dick pics of business, to put it crudely. But it's like the people that like just come at you with like, buy this, without building any kind of relationship. That's bro marketing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm writing that down because it's great. I might actually put it in a quote block and put it on my Facebook.
I love that.
By
Yeah.
Michelle Markman.
Yeah, just quote me.
Yeah, you're
Um,
quoted.
Use an asterisk with the D word, because Facebook might flag it.
Oh, I've been hit so many times by Facebook. Thank you for reminding me about the community standards that I frequently violate.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I got locked out for a week, Wednesday to Monday.
oh,
So
was it for bad
yeah.
behavior? Or
I don't
When
I
you're gonna
assumed you got
know.
hacked.
They won't tell me. I didn't get hacked, but they disabled my account for a week, but they won't tell me why. I'm back in, so
Yeah.
Gotta love Meta. Uh, my question for you, David, was
Yes.
uh I actually had the double thing. I creative pioneer. And you
Yes.
said that the creative when they withdraw, but what was the behavior that you said the pioneer does when they're not functioning properly or what they cause? I couldn't remember.
Yeah, they may be overbearing, and
Overbearing.
because it's too much. In fact, if John, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna, if I'll just share, if you're okay, John, I'll share your little five
Course.
voices. You're okay with that if I show that
Yeah,
one?
no, I'm fine.
Okay, so I'm gonna just show you, John, so you guys can see what it looks like. Can you see my screen there?
yes.
So you can see John is a pioneer connector, and when you do the assessment, the full assessment, it goes through here strength, stress, and triggers. And so what happens to a pioneer? They get, again, if you don't understand this about yourself, you can get triggered into the danger zone. If you're stressed, it's just going to amplify it. So a pioneer is going to get, if they're going to get triggered by if incompetence by others or people challenge your confidence. So if you're not healthy and you're understanding who you are, this won't matter as much because you'll understand like, okay, that's not them. I mean, this is me. You'll understand like how do you get triggered. And so what happens is for a pioneer, they can hurt others with words and actions when they're frustrated, unaware, accidental, or immature. So, I think, depends on where you're at in your journey, right? But whenever we get to our danger zone, for any of us, whether it's pioneer or creative, what happens is we end up being usually more, we start to damage other people instead of being a life-giving. And so it's just if we're not aware of these things, like Michelle is saying, we don't even realize. And I think a lot of people, I think I was talking to you, Christina, the other day, but I feel like a lot of people they live in a pressure. So you guys have heard that saying of like the boiling pot of water with a frog in it, right? Where you put the frog in there and it'll stay in there and until it dies, it boils up. And I think that's what a lot of human beings do in just trying to accommodate and capacity is we just keep boiling and we don't even realize. And then when what happens is we go to the danger zone, and that's when we kind of start really hurting. And the pioneers can weaponize themselves. Like the English here is like Carnage, like a rocket launcher or a bulldozer. We're like boom, boom, we're taking you out because you pushed us over the edge. And because pioneers have sharp mind and logic, and they can be very pointed and they can be very nail you.
I forgot how accurate this thing was.
John, you remember?
It
Right?
sounds like you're explaining me, right?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Well, but there's what I love about this particular tool is that they've actually used now AI things for like right here. So we can actually go in here and ask tools like if I'm a pioneer, how do I work with a guardian, for example, if I have a challenge. So there's ways that we can be more self-aware in this and understanding these triggers. And then, there's different ways that we can be healthier. Again, if we don't know these things about ourselves, then we're going to get frustrated. You know, I was literally talking with an HR person yesterday. She was talking with a company about their director, and he was frustrated with, I think it was the director of engineering, John, and like the owner was frustrated with them, and then they fired him, and they got another person in there. Well, we're probably going to fire him again. So there's a problem here. It's not just that person. I'm sure they had issues, but it's also the owner, and but if they're not aware, we're just going to keep damaging. And so that's what we're trying to do in this space of like get awareness and get healthier. Um, you know, so and
That's
this
kind
takes
of like,
time.
it's
Yeah.
so interesting. It's kind of like social media. Like I'll admit I'm a USC football fan, and yeah, like they lose to Notre Dame, and you got all these people that are saying fire the coach. And we've gone through the whole fire the coach thing, but it's just because you hear these different voices that you're talking about.
Mhm.
Like those are the people that are putting those posts up. So when you're on social media, it's like a weird conversation because certain things that you say on social media elicit response from certain people with certain voices.
Mhm.
Um, and we're probably all guilty of that. Like we probably see lots of posts, and then there's things that like trigger us, and then that's what we respond to. But it's kind of an unhealthy way to converse,
Mhm.
if you think about it. And it, like Michelle said, it's a total time waster, really. If you can filter all that out and just do the things that are important to you and important to what you're trying to accomplish, life would be better. I guess I should talk to Michelle.
Yeah, no, you're right on the money, John. But here's the thing: we're there's a lot of things that are being engineered against us. If we're not aware, we're just going to get sucked into, like you said, the social media and stuff. It's like we're not aware of like again who we're talking to. So, John, if you're the pioneer, now here's the thing, just for those of you who don't know, pioneers make up about 7% of the population. So that's another challenge for you, John, because 93% of the population don't naturally speak your voice
Yeah.
just naturally. Okay. So that means you have to think all these different people. And I know you've done the political world, so you're trying to reach these
Yeah.
constituents, but just think about that. Um, and then we all have these different tendencies in there. So me as a connector, there's about 11% of the population that's their primary voice. I'm in trouble when I'm people pleasing because that's my trip up because I'm not centered and grounded like you were saying earlier, Michelle. If I'm trying to please others, and so now I'm falling into this trap. It's a different trap. Yeah, and so if as we understand and appreciate it about ourselves, then we can catch ourselves, and we can also be empowering and saying, "Look, I've had to tell John, I've had to tell this with staff before. I said, look, I'm overly positive. I want to make this happen, but I need a reality check here too. And I'm healthy enough to receive it. And I'm not like going fight or flight, or like you said earlier, Michelle, I'm like, okay, I can stand and be able to interact in a healthy way. Um, yeah.
Well, the Pioneer's even worse, 7%, and
Yeah.
the Connector's 11%. So the two together are like the lowest percentage.
Yeah. Well, creatives are 9%. You got the creatives, the pioneers, and the connectors are
Oh, yeah,
the
no, I'm sorry, it's 9%. Yeah, creatives.
yep, yep. So if you take and let me share my screen real quick just so you guys can see it real quick so that you can help because now you're looking at your report, John. But this just in a rough this is helpful. I did is understanding the overall breakdown of voices. You have pioneers, which is also the loudest voice. And you have, connectors and creatives, which are all future oriented, by the way. Naturally, not these are all everybody has all of these things, okay? So it's inclusive. It's just what is your if you think of like I wear glasses, like what's the lenses that you're being seen through? It's just the order at which they come through. But nurturers and guardians and are roughly over 70% of the population.
Mm.
So those are your implementers. Those are your people that are asking, what about today? What are the things we have to do today? They don't think about things in the future naturally. Like my wife's a guardian, so every time I ask her about like goals and planning all these things, she's like, "Oh my gosh, why are you talking to me about this? Can we just deal with the thing right here today?" And I've had to learn to get healthy to understand that that's not a threat to me. It's just that's the way that person is coming through, you know. Um, and,
Mhm.
right? And so it's like understanding these things together. And that's like, and like that's why I wanted to have Michelle here because I think teaming. These are different tools in the toolbox and how we work together and how we can help folks. And hopefully, if you guys get value out of this and share it with others, it's we need this more than ever in our polarized world. I feel it's just where, like you said, whether it be sports or you name it, right, John? I mean,
Yeah,
we are
agreed.
doing more harm to each other than good, and we're our society is fraying at the edges, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Um,
Agreed.
Yeah. And so much of the media is so polarizing. So
Intentionally too.
mhm,
intention,
Yeah.
because the more we're driven apart, the more we're distracted from what's actually going on in the world.
mhm, yeah. Um, yeah. So when I went with Michelle, I said, Michelle, let's do this. We've got to get something else out there that we can reach more people, extend our connection together. And I'm grateful that the three of you were able to get on here today. I know some other folks couldn't make it, but we'll do the recording and maybe we will do this again.
Yeah.
Um,
That
so
was good. I really liked what you said, Michelle. I hear a lot about, oh, get out of your head, blah, blah, blah. But when you're in your head and you know you're in your head, it's really hard to get out of your head, right? But all of those things that you were talking about, I'd never kind of put two and two together. Like I kind of understand that, like, I'm in my head, I can really self-sabotage.
Hmm.
And I've also gone through that freeze mode, like all of that, but I just never kind of just looked at it from a different lens of putting it all together and then talking about what you said, and that's taking the nervous system and really taking care of that, that's the piece that I think is for me is missing, right? And I've never heard anybody talk about that, and it's great that I think it's great what you're doing, and I want to find out more because I think it could be really, really helpful, not just for me, but for a lot of people I know.
mhm.
Yeah.
So. But it
Yeah.
was very, very interesting. So thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure. I'll give you one little hack. This is my favorite. And that is just if you're feeling really stuck in your head, you're totally overwhelmed, and it doesn't work as well as when in winter. But if you're able to go outside barefoot or wear thick socks or something, or you can take a picnic blanket and just sit on the grass, just 5, 10 minutes, just breathe the fresh air, get away from your devices, get that natural light, and really connect with the earth. It can help your body to reset and to bring you back down out of your head, back into your body, and really help you just ground. So that's one of my favorite hacks. And I do it every single day. We're all here in California, so we can got to do it
Well,
year
that's
round.
Yeah, that's great. I try to, well, I have to like because I focus on something. I could sit my computer from my computer all day, right?
Oh
But
yeah.
I'll work for like maybe an hour or two, and then I get up and make myself go do something else, right? So I try to get outside, but I don't always get outside.
Yeah.
So I take those breaks, but like I think that next step is like getting outside and just really doing like taking the break and then maybe focusing on something else, right? Personally. So it's like I need
Yeah.
to get that break of, yeah, just really kind of relaxing and resetting. And I think that going outside would be great. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. It's
I'll echo that 100%, Michelle. I mean, John knows I'm a biologist through and through anyways in the background, but we're seeing, I mean, there's science that proves this. Back being outside in nature is so important and getting out there.
Yeah.
So it's not, it's not just like I said, woo, it really is actually
yeah.
backed. Um, you
Yeah,
know,
you can
Yeah.
look up forest bathing if you want to look up some research.
What was that?
Forest bathing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Japanese call it forest bathing. There's also you can look up earthing.
Yeah, I've heard of that. And so I'm trying to do meditation and stuff, and I want to heal my body. Like I don't want to do medicine and all that kind of stuff. So, but I know that you have to give it the right environment, and that right environment means you have to have a really solid nervous system that, is not fried like mine, right? So, yeah. So for me to slow down, it's really hard. But I think that's so key that the whole nervous system, and I don't hear many people talking about that, especially when it comes to business.
And that's the thing is when you don't have time to slow down, that's when you need it most. And that's also,
Yeah,
when it's the hardest.
yeah,
So that's why it's great to have support in the area.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's not going alone because, like you said, I mean, I know I coach, but I get coached too, and I have other folks in there. It's ongoing. It's definitely I've learned not to go it alone, Christina, because
Good.
it's just a matter of time where you'll fall off somewhere, you know.
Oh, that's happened, right? So then it takes me, so much time to get back on track, right?
Yep.
So yeah,
Opportunity cost, man.
exactly. I know.
Put those 2 years back.
Yeah,
Absolutely, absolutely.
But it brought me to what I'm doing now, so it was worth it.
Mm-hmm.
great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. This is
Yeah.
really informative and really great, David. Thank
Thank
you
you
for
I'm
inviting me.
glad you joined. I mean, we just talked yesterday, so I'm like glad you were able to jump on here. I mean,
Yeah.
hopefully you guys we'll post it back out there. Maybe you guys make a comment on social media, wherever that might be, LinkedIn or whatnot, and just say you got some value out of that, and so we can share that with others because that's the end of the day. That's what we're trying to do is just help reach more folks.
Yeah, absolutely. Tag me and
Yeah.
I'm happy to comment.
Okay.
Too.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank
Thanks,
you
John.
both.
I
Yeah.
would say the same, because I wasn't clear what it was, and I just came because you asked.
Yeah. Well,
I am having a thing tomorrow. I'm like, great, great. Um, so now understanding the context, I understand how valuable it is, particularly for women, because I've been writing and lamenting about how, as a woman, the energy is just masculine for business, masculine, 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 masculine.
Yeah.
And women actually expect that they can adapt and just like roll with it. But over time, like Veronica, I don't know if you remember, Veronica was
oh yeah.
saying
Yeah. Yesterday.
it absolutely destroys our nervous system. And then illness happens. And I
Hmm.
was down for 2 months last year, Michelle,
I've
like
been there.
down and out, like completely tapped out, could not work. And I had to pause. So I know exactly what you're talking about, and I've slowed down, but it's like I'm still like accusing myself of being lazy as I've slowed down. So,
Hmm.
You know, it's
Yeah.
interesting you just say that, Juanita. I met with an HR consultant yesterday. She's had her company for a number of years, and we were talking about because John knows I worked with a woman-owned small business previously, and she wanted to grow that business to $1 million in revenue, which most women businesses don't reach in the U.S. And I think, there's some challenges there, and we can't get into it today, but I think that you're bringing up, Juanita, some of the challenges and the differences between men and women and in the business world. And we just got to talk factually about what's out there, and then we can make some changes and adjustments in the world. But I think, yeah, what you brought up was important. And I feel like a lot of what I've worked with, a lot of pioneer women, as John, that said that pioneer voices, many of those women have to, like, in my experience, have to subdue that voice because it's not as socially acceptable. And so they have to try and show up a little different ways. To your point, Michelle, they're getting their nervous systems off and other things. So there's a lot of challenges there that we're trying to untangle, if you will, for
Mhm.
various reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that brings up a question like, because I'm so male dominated, right? My just even the colors that I choose for my house, right? I'm very and I always have been, but like not being able to tap into that feminine side as much, I think is that a big factor also,
Well,
Michelle?
go, Michelle. Michelle, you go ahead and answer because I think that's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, I think our culture really promotes masculine energy. And, from the time we're little, we're sent messages like, don't run like a girl. Like, I mean,
Right.
everything from the things that we're told to the media to really believing that we're sort of human doings rather than human beings. And for women, we run on a Euphratean cycle. We don't run on the circadian cycle. We're not a 24-hour being, we're a 28 to 32 day being. So our energy is going to ebb and flow throughout the month. And so is our productivity. So it's really important for us to understand how our own female body kind of works. And it really doesn't work optimally on the 24-hour male-driven sort of system that we're educated in or we're, sort of raised to show up in. And we're just starting to really acknowledge this as a community and as a society here in 2025.
And I just want to add, Christina, because I think I told you, I spoke a few weeks ago at the IIA conference, and we're talking about like voices. The
Mhm.
voices, the pioneer voices, are not feminine or masculine, just so you know. Now,
Mhm.
can there be, what I find is a lot of women that are pioneer voices feel if they're not naturally a nurturer, that's just because that's more society. Like we want women to be nurturing, but not all that. And then vice versa for men that come off nurturing, that's like, oh, well, there's these different weird, there's these different dynamics. We can't get into today, all of them, but I just want to express to you that it goes both ways because I have a client right now and she's incredible, an engineer. She works really well. She's a pioneer. And she's told me personally, like, I've had to show up as a nurturer because the other guys, I knew the men were going to be more uncomfortable if I use my full pioneer voice. And so she would like subdue her voice, when I worked with her on this. But on the flip side, sometimes she does feel a little guilty. She's got a 12-year-old daughter, and sometimes she feels like I'm just not so like nurturing of her, and just
Yeah.
realizing there's that, dynamic. Okay. And so it's just understanding how I naturally show up, just like my wife's a guardian and she's very like I know John works with the guardian so with another voice they're very specific and they kind of come off cold and calculated but they're just trying to get the job done and that's the way that they approach things
Yeah.
and actually that's their way of showing love and appreciation and helping you.
Right.
Actually, that's they would tell you that it's really out of care because that's where they're in their natural state. So when you're in your natural state in a healthy place, Christina, you're empowering. And just like John, if you're a power pioneer voice, you're creating the vision, which nurturers and guardians typically do not like visioning. They do not like crafting the future. They'll be your great implementer, but if you ask them to do that, or asking like Juanita to be creative, it's like deer in the headlights. They're like, that is stressful. I do not want to have to be in that place. I'd much rather follow what you've created, you're coming up with, what you're innovating and they'll gladly come alongside you. But again, this is all about leading in a healthy ways. And if we're stressed out, like you said, Michelle, and we're trying to push people to show up like that, and other people like when they're under you, they'll try to mimic you and try to be like you if they're not wise to this, understanding how the knowledge, and it's not going to serve them well, and you're going to be frustrated because they're not going to be able to, you know, measure up to how you are. Um,
So how often should you take one of these assessments, right? Because I would think that like it could change. Maybe not the core stuff, but like I think there'd be some things that could change, right?
I would say the core doesn't change per se, but your awareness of them, Christina, and how you well, how you value them would change, I would say. Because you may value something more, and the reality is that might not be who you are naturally, but you've learned how to do that. How many of us have grown up or heard families say, well, we want you to be a doctor or a lawyer, or we want you to be certain things, and so they do that and actually can achieve some level of success. But at the end of the day, what you were saying, John, do they feel satisfied? Do they feel purposeful? No, not really, because it's not their natural way of being. So that's what I was, that was my journey, Christina, of like, okay, understanding this. I learned as a connector, I'm really good at bringing people together. As an implementer and getting all the detailed steps together, I'm not that person. And I would have a lot of guilt and shame and challenge of like recognizing I just have to have other people on my team that are really good at that, you know?
Yeah, that's great for team building because then you know who you need.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to take that assessment as soon as we're done here.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Okay.
check it out. And then, you now you can and you can meet with Michelle and we'll do maybe we'll do this again, you guys. So if you found value, Michelle and I will look for another time. We wanted to just try it out and we're grateful that you guys came on and spent the whole hour with us. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no, this is
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Awesome. All
Thanks,
right.
everyone.
All
Yeah.
right. Thanks everybody.
Bye.
Thank
All
you.
right, take
Thank
care.
you.